Leader Lecture and Award. We're delighted that you took time out this afternoon to come and join us and to think about what emerging leadership looks like. And I'm so delighted to see so many FIU students that have joined us this afternoon. My name is Myra Beers, and I'm the director, co-director with my colleague Nathan Hiller of the Center for Leadership here at Florida International University. And since 2013, the center has selected an emerging leader nominated by leaders in our community to highlight that young people in our community are really making a difference in the way we lead our lives and the way our community progresses. And so we, in partnership with the Alva H. and Wyling P. Chapman Foundation, have sponsored this award. Dale Chapman Webb, who serves on our committee, would have been here today. She's having surgery, so she sent her apologies, but also sent her congratulations to Matt. But they have been our partners since the very beginning because they also are very committed to developing young leaders in our community. I would like to take a moment, if you will allow me, to recognize some distinguished members of our community that are with us today. And I want to start off by recognizing there's several of the nominees for this year's award that are with us, and I think it is a testament to their leadership as well as to Matt's leadership in this community that they have chosen to spend their very busy, part of their very busy day with us to help us honor Matt. So if you would all please stand and turn and join the audience, and we'd like for you to join us in applauding Matt. It's okay. You're going to get your turn, I promise. I'm also delighted that last year's recipient of the Emerging Leader Honor is with us today, and this is Van Salupis, and Van serves as the CEO of the Children's Movement and is doing an amazing, amazing work on behalf of the children of our community and of our state. So Vance, if you would please stand. Representing the Miami-Dade County School Board, we have Mara Valeris, who is here as a community liaison for the chairman of the board, Larry Feldman. There's a school board meeting going on right now, so he couldn't be here, but he said Mara, so please help us recognize her. And I do want a special recognition for Matt's parents, because after all, he wouldn't be here without you. Right? So I'd like for all of us to give a hand to Florence and Sheldon Anderson. And last but not least, there's quite a number of FIU students here, some honor students as well. And I'd like you all now to please stand up and let us recognize you for your outstanding academic achievements. The future emerging leaders in our community. On behalf of all of us, we want to congratulate Matt today for this amazing opportunity that we have to talk about what emerging leadership is all about. Because more than just honoring Matt, it's about honoring the work that all of our young people are doing in this community. And giving them the opportunity to show us, to lead the way for some of us who are have gotten a little bit lazy, and kind of spur us on to get back to work. So it is now my distinct privilege, I left maybe the best for last, a member of our board of advisors, the Center's Board of Advisors, here with us today, and I'm delighted to introduce to you Sean Berg. Sean, after spending 25 years with JM Family Enterprises as their Chief Technology Officer, retired. Except now I see that he's Chief Information Technology Officer at Marine Max, which is the largest producer of luxury vessels in the world. So I'm not sure how retirement worked out for him. But I'm delighted to introduce my friend and our board member, Sean Berg.
Thank you, Mara. It's a privilege and an honor to be here, and great to be here for Matt. The Emerging Leader Award we present today was developed to recognize a new generation of leaders who are providing innovative solutions to social and business challenges while improving the quality of life in our leadership in our community. Today, we're here to honor an individual who is part of this new generation of leaders and has dedicated his life to leadership development of Miami's youth, and is focused on improving the quality of life in Miami throughout the development of communities that see their very future in the youngest of its citizens. I am pleased to announce that this year's emerging leader is Mr. Matthew Anderson. You can join me, but I'm going to ask you to back up in a second. you can help me out here, though. No, I'm kidding. Through Matthew's work in the Young Leaders Society at the United Way of Miami-Dade, Matthew has given young leaders volunteer and networking opportunities in order to gain exposure and learn from seasoned leaders. Through the Beacon Council's New Leaders Task Force, Matthew has developed coalitions, advocates who meet regularly to discuss opportunities and provide mentoring to students at the high school and university level. Over the past few years, Matthew has spearheaded, co-founded, and led some of South Florida's premier organizations. He is known as a catalyst who connects individuals and organizations with crucial relations and funding resources to create significant impact. As noted in his nomination, Matthew serves as an example to his peers and is considered a leader that encourages, facilitates, and creates opportunities for young professionals in order to use their talents and leave their mark on South Florida community in a meaningful way. This recognition symbolizes the aspiration to transcendent leadership by engaging with society to create solutions in tangible and practical ways and build a better world, as Matthew has done at just 32. At this time, it's my honor on behalf of the Center for Leadership, the Florida International University, the Elva H. and Wileen P. Chapman Foundation to present the 2017 Emerging Leader Award to Mr. Matthew Anderson. Please join me in congratulating Matt.
Let me go over this way. You guys come here.
Sorry about that, it's all for social media.
One more. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to call Brett up and then you'll be up.
Perfect.
I have one more introduction to make before you get to hear from Matt. I know you're all here to hear Matt. I'm delighted to welcome a dear friend of Matt's, Mr. Brett Del Campo, who's the Executive Director of SERAPHIC Fire, an organization that I have looked up to and have participated in a lot of their concerts over the years that have really had a significant impact in South Florida. And what I found really interesting is that Rhett is a world-class percussionist. I wish we had a drum set. But he has performed with orchestras all over the world as a lead percussionist. So, ladies, you never know, right, where leadership is going to emerge. And so we're delighted to welcome Rhett to give some personal thoughts about Matt and then introduce Matt to all of you.
Thank you, Myra. Clearly you did some Googling on me. I'm retired now. I've only lived in South Florida for 3 years, but one of the first people I met, not surprisingly, was Matt Anderson, because Matt is everywhere. And he immediately introduced himself. I think I was at a United Way Young Leaders event that I attended just to get to know people. Introduced himself and said, let's meet for coffee. And I looked this up on my calendar. That was October 14th, 2014, so it's been almost exactly 3 years that I've known Matt. Sure enough, 3 weeks later, we met for coffee. He got business out of the way first. He got me to join the Young Leaders Society and donate money. We got that done quickly. Thank you, Matt. I actually have enjoyed the Young Leaders Society. But then we started the game that Matt is quite good at. You should meet. And this is where Matt says, you should meet this person. And I think about all the people that I know in the community that I see as mentors and people that I lean on for advice and support. And a lot of them I met through Matt. Nancy Lupus, Jill Dupy from the Low Art Museum, the Barton G. Kids Here Now Foundation. I think you were a founding member of that. So the thing about Matt is he doesn't just make the introduction. This day in social media, send an email, say, hey, meet this person. He shows up to that introduction and he helps build those relationships. And I think that, Matt, that's the key to the strong relationships I've built, because the introductions weren't made over email. They were made in person, and that goes a long way. Part of being a community leader is being reliable. Matt shows up. He's on my board of directors. He's not there just to be a name on our webpage. He shows up to meetings. I can think this past summer, Saturday in July, I'm sure none of you would want to show up to our office and do a cost-benefit analysis. They're bored, but Matt is there, and he's there because not only does he want to provide input, he wants to learn. And another thing I want to say, Matt, that I appreciate about you is when you work with a board of directors, you get a lot of advice. A lot of people want to tell you how to do your job, have a lot of opinions, and it can be challenging. And a sign of a great leader is somebody who's willing to listen, which you do, but also ask questions as opposed to impart your wisdom, which you have plenty of. You do that in a way that's very disarming, and it makes it easier for me to do my job with SERAPHIC Fire. So you're here to listen to Matt, and I'm going to thank you for all the introductions you've made for me and the success you've helped me achieve here in Miami. So I'm going to thank you by just introducing you to this room full of wonderful people. So please welcome my good friend, Matt Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is truly a day that I will never forget. Being here today in front of you, in front of my family, my loved ones, my colleagues, to accept this award from an incredible institution like FIU, and one that is associated with such a great family like the Chaplains is a big deal. And to follow in the footsteps of my good friend Vance Lupus and Dr. Susan Amant means the world to me. Before I get started, I have to have a few congratulations and thank yous that are in store. First and foremost, I want to congratulate my fellow nominees. The pool of nominees this year were stellar. Quite frankly, all of you should be up here with me, and it's an honor to be by your side. It was also pretty cool to be nominated alongside some of my partners in crime in this community, Brandon Okpalobi, Jesse Barron, and what my father calls his first son, Austin Hollow. Before I get started, I want to speak to the students. I'm going to talk to you guys in my talk on a macro level, and I challenge you when I'm done to ask me the tough questions. Not too long ago, I was sitting in your chair, 10 years ago. So I can impart some wisdom to you, so please don't be afraid to ask. You can ask me anything, successes, failures, anything. So okay, so the name of my talk is called Connecting the Dots, a journey of meaningful relationships, experiences, and community engagement. And that's really how I tend to look at my life. In the last 32 years, I've looked at my life like a marathon, not a sprint. I'm a marathon runner. I do a lot of half marathons. And I use the marathon as an analogy to my life because life isn't easy. And if you can get through a marathon, 26.2 miles, you can get through anything. And I define my life as a web of connections, a web of meaningful relationships and experiences. And in many instances in life, my hard work and my perseverance has kind of met opportunity alongside my friends and loved ones in the community where they've helped me to attain success. And they've also been there for me in the bad times. Having that support system is crucial. So in terms of dots, I'm going to take you to the first meaningful dot in my life. And it's being born to my parents, Sheldon and Florence Anderson. And I was lucky enough to have a very privileged background. I'm the son of a banking legend and community activist. And my father's career was very, very demanding. And the only way to really keep my family together was to do everything together. So when it came to our community obligations, we did it as a family. My mom, who you see right there, was my dad's secret sauce. His clients love my mom more than my dad. I mean, really the secret sauce. And it's kind of crazy how life comes full circle in terms of my community engagement and my career. For the last 8 years, I've been in commercial real estate, and last week, I'm now in wealth management, like my dad. So it's crazy how life just kind of takes you in that direction. And the first lesson I'm going to impart to you from my father is remember your name. So whenever I left my house, whether it was to go to school, to go to a dance, to go out with my friends, my father would say, remember your name. And what does that mean? Does it mean just don't forget that your name's Matthew Anderson? No, it's actually a lot deeper than that. It means when you're out in the community, you never know who's watching you. You never know who knows who you are. And you're not just a reflection of yourself. You are a reflection of your family. 32 years later, my name isn't just Matthew Anderson anymore, right? It's Matthew Anderson, who works for U.S. Trust, who is a board member of SERAPHIC Fire, on the President's Council of Florida International University, on the Beacon Council's New Leaders Task Force, a founding member of the Barton G. Kids Here Now Foundation, member of Leadership Florida's Connect Florida class, board of directors member of MCCJ, and the list goes on. I'm a reflection of other organizations in this community, and if I do something wrong or without integrity, it's not just a reflection of me, my family, it's a reflection of all of these organizations. So I have to be on at all times, or else I'm done. And these organizations have the risk of being done. The second lesson from my father goes hand in hand with remember your name, and that's birds of a feather flock together, right? So what that means is you need to be very careful who you associate yourself with, right? Because that can make or break you as well. It's also that support system that I was talking to you about early on. If you don't have the right team in place, you're not going to get anywhere. So when I was in college, I was on my team's crew team. And to be a rower, you have to train harder than probably any other sport. It's extremely rigorous. It's extremely precise. And my coach, Larry Bordeaux, who's one of my best friends to this day, had a huge effect on us because he told us, row as one. What does that mean? It means when you get in the boat, all 8 people are on the same page, that we're going to pull hard to win the race. Our oars are going to hit the water at the same time, and we're going to be in sync because we want nothing more than success for one another and to win. And that has trickled into my personal life, my professional life. This is one of the best teams I've ever been a part of in my life. It's the United Way Young Leaders. And if you pay close attention to this picture, this group of young individuals is very, very similar to that of the FIU student body, right? We're diverse, we're young, we're hungry, we're successful. When we set a goal, we stick to it, and we beat it. Almost a year ago from today, 25 of us sat down and we said, we want to raise $200,000. In July, we beat it. This is the best team I've ever worked for in my life. Birds of a feather flock together. When I moved back to Miami from Boston about 7 years ago, if you read the newspapers, you would saw a lot of articles about the brain drain. Young professionals were leaving Miami in droves. And me and my fellow young professionals, many of who are honored today and are with me here today, said, we're going to stay here and we're going to prove others wrong. We created a real young professional ecosystem where people have set down roots here and want to stay here and have inspired others to want to stay here. So now we've gone away from the brain drain and we've moved into a brain gain. Who is on your personal board of directors? Can I see a share of hands of the FIU students in the room? How many of you guys have mentors? That's definitely not enough. Like a company, we all have personal brands, right? And a company has a board of directors that governs it, keeps it in check, makes sure that everything's good. We also have our own personal brands, and we need a board of directors, our own personal board of directors, our board of mentors, that are going to ask us the tough questions, give us the ugly truth when we don't want to hear it, and hold us accountable. And I've been really lucky to have some great mentors. There have been so many successful FIU alums that you guys don't have any excuse not to reach out to, that I guarantee will take your call and offer you advice. And you never know where those opportunities are going to come from. If you guys look to your left and look to your right, you look at the next Surgeon General, the next President, the next CEO of Apple, your next client, right? The next person you're going to call to get your child into school. This is your network. And you guys have the bond of being Golden Panthers. When I first graduated from college, I graduated in the midst of the Great Recession. And jobs are few, far in between. It was almost impossible to get a job. And I had to get really creative. So I moved back from Massachusetts for a little while, and I set up a shop every morning in my father's office at my house. I locked the door, and I took my school's annual report, and I went to the back where all the donors are. And I said, if Mr. Jones can donate $500,000, I need to speak to this guy. So I spent my hours, 9 to 5, like a regular job, cold calling these people. And my batting average was pretty darn good. I barely ever struck out. People took my call because I'm a University of Massachusetts alumni. And that's how I got my first job out of college. So you guys need to put together your personal board of advisors and really leverage the strong FIU brand. So a few years ago, I came up with my philosophy. It's not rest in peace, I promise. It's called the RIP philosophy. And the RIP philosophy basically is my definition of success. RIP stands for responsibility, interest, and privilege. Responsibility is a state or fact of being responsible, answerable, or accountable for something within one's power, control, or management. I feel a responsibility for this community. I've had a lot of success in this community, and it's my responsibility to give back. It's my responsibility to make sure that you guys are successful, because if you guys are successful, I'm successful. Interest. An interest in this sense is a business, cause, or the like in which a person has a shared concern or responsibility. I have a stake in you guys to be successful. Privilege. Privilege is an advantage or source of pleasure granted to a person. So there's a lot of misconceptions about privilege, right? Many people think that you're born into privilege, and many are. But you can be born into privilege and do nothing with it and get nowhere in life. There's also a form of privilege that's attained through hard work, right? Many of us in this room weren't born to similar circumstances, but we all work hard. We're here. We're privileged to be here at FIU. We're privileged to know one another. And we're privileged to know that we're going to be successful. And if RIP are not in line, meaning if you don't feel a sense of responsibility for this community, you don't have a stake, and you don't feel privileged, you're ripping yourself off, and you're ripping the community off. It's so easy to use the old saying that a rising tide rises all ships. That's good, right? But who's going to be the captain of those ships? Let's take it a step further. That's us. We're the next generation. We're the ones that are going to steer, and we're the ones that need to mentor those that are younger than us. Suggested reading. This is the time in your lives where you have no excuse but to figuring out how to master your craft, figure out what you want to do, and go after it. In terms of mastering my craft of human relations, these 4 books have been my Bible since I was your age. You guys were given a copy of Adam Grant's Give and Take, which I think is a phenomenal book. The essence of this book is in life there's givers, there's takers, and there's matchers. Takers are the obvious, and givers are the obvious, right? Takers are easy to deal with if you know what you're getting yourselves into, right? You know you're making a deal with the devil, but you need to know how to navigate that. But a matcher is a little dangerous. A matcher is someone that you scratch my back, I scratch your back too. That's human relations, kind of, but if you're going to be friends with someone that just wants like a game of tennis in terms of favors, it's not worth it. So that's a great book for you to keep up. Never Eat Alone, I highly suggest that. That is my ultimate Bible. That really talks about connecting the dots. Finally, jump. When I say jump, I'm not telling you to go jump off a cliff. What I'm saying is, I want you in the morning to jump out of bed and do something that makes you feel great, something that you're passionate about. Jump to action. When you're scared to call that alumni, jump. Do it. You don't have any excuse. Jump to be successful. Thank you very much for this honor. It was a pleasure being here with you today. Thank you. Questions? Yeah. Don't be shy. Jump.
I'll start it out. You mentioned about kind of looking for mentors. Can you tell us a little bit about where to look for mentors, where to find them, how to kind of develop them, a little bit about that?
Sure. There's a few ways, right? So Josh is asking, what are the best ways to find a mentor? There's a few ways that you can go about finding a mentor. One is you need to create a wish list. You need to identify who you admire and reach for the stars, right? It could be Bill Gates or it could be a local leader, right? But put it on a piece of paper and go after it. The other way to find a mentor is to position yourself in a way that you're going to meet these people that you look up to. Whether it's doing research and finding out that they're passionate about the United Way or the YMCA or Seraphic Fire. Go to a Seraphic Fire concert and position yourself to where they're sitting and introduce yourself. Don't be shy. In this life, don't ask, don't get.
All right, I'm just going to try.
Sure.
So we have a lot of students in the room. Personally, myself, I'm a PhD student, and we're usually stuck in research and our heads buried in the ground. But what are some steps that, if there are 3 things that one of us can do to change, to be part of the community, to make a difference, what 3 steps can we take? And how can we be more involved in community service?
So community service is only fun and meaningful when you do something that you love. So you have to identify what kind of causes you're passionate about, then do some research on what organizations cater to that, and then you go on their website and you find out who their executive director is, and I guarantee you that they will take your call because they're looking for free, brilliant minds to help run their organizations. It's really as simple as that.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations for your success. And I
Thank
see
you.
that my name is Fabian Villa. I follow you alumni, and I see that you incorporate a lot of your physical fitness as well that into your academic discipline as well, and that build the resilience and the commitment for you to achieve your goals. Could you expand on that?
Sure. I often find that athletes are the best business partners to have because athletes are regimented. They believe in practice. Practice makes perfect. They have strong work ethics. And if you include that in your day-to-day life, if you have a routine and you're diligent, that's how you're successful. And if you surround yourself with people with that mindset, it keeps you in check. When you walk into the gym and say, Matt, wow, you've put on some weight. Were you on vacation? It's like, well, oh, you're 2 minutes off your mile. Oh, it keeps you in check. And those are the types of people that you need to keep yourself around.
I'm a student at FIU, and we've been talking about sort of good stuff, but what happens when things don't go your way? When you mess up, when something messes up, and it just doesn't work out? How do you bounce back from that?
Sure. So the first thing you have to do is accept it, right? You have to accept that you messed up. And you have to admit it to whoever it needs to be admitted to. Sometimes it might even be yourself, right? You failed yourself. Then you allow yourself one day to reflect on that. Just one day. Because if you allow yourself to sink into a black hole, it's almost impossible to get out. And then you learn from that mistake. And you don't do it again. Is that what we... Okay. What else?
Kind of piggybacking off of her question, can you tell us about a time in your life where you faced a challenge, like an example, and then what you did to overcome that challenge?
Sure. So this is kind of a personal story. I was 25 years old. For my age, I was making a lot of money. I had an incredible apartment in Boston, in one of the best neighborhoods in Boston. I wasn't happy. I was working a lot of hours. And one day I was sitting at my desk one morning, and I'll never forget it. My boss walked by me, and then another lady walked by him. They called me into his office, and they said, Matt, today is your last day. You don't need to worry about any of your work, but your job has been eliminated. This was at the peak of the financial crisis. And wow, I was financially independent. I didn't have to ask my parents for money. And I felt like my legs had been cut off. And I'll never forget walking home to my apartment. I'll never forget having to call my dad and my mom and let them know what happened. And I'll never forget landing back at Miami International Airport to visit my parents after being let go and feeling like I had been defeated, like I'd just gone to war. And luckily I had very supportive parents that promised me that everything was going to be okay and promised me that I wasn't going to starve and helped me guide myself to my next opportunity. I mean, having that support system around you is crucial. Success is not attained by yourself. It's impossible. And the days of the Lone Ranger are over, and we just have to accept that. So, what else? Mr. Nelson.
Matt, I got a question for you. This
Tell me.
concept of jump, I think it's great. And I think everyone here would really benefit from an anecdote. Give us an anecdotal experience of your most memorable jump idea, this thing that you wanted to accomplish from its genesis to its end, the greatest thing you've accomplished, or your most exciting adventure in any project you've endeavored to undertake.
Okay, so I would say one of my most life-changing experiences was one that was through the urging of my parents, was to go study abroad in Granada, Spain. That opportunity changed my life. I grew up a Spanish speaker, but having the opportunity to really live in another country was incredible. The people I met along the way changed my life. These are my lifelong friends. One of them is sitting in the second row there. And having the opportunity to learn another culture, to live with a Spanish family who I'm still very close with today, and to, again, connect more dots. I'll give you a quick story from that trip to Spain. When I graduated from college, I went back to Spain. And it was supposed to be for 3 weeks. I got there, I called my dad, and I said, Dad, I'm not coming back. And he was okay with it. So I spent about 5 months, what was supposed to be 3 months, in Granada, Spain. And one day, I was emailing my dad, Dad, I'm going to go to the Running of the Bulls, and then the following week I'm going to go to Paris for La Fête de la Musique, and my father writes me back 2 words. Actually 3 words. Matthew, it's time. I'll never forget it. I was in an internet cafe, and I put my head down like this on my arms, and I knew it was time to go back to get to work, and I was back in my new job like that. Fast forward, I wanted to get into commercial real estate, and I started applying to different companies. And one of the companies that I applied to was a company called Colliers International. It's massive. It's one of the 3rd biggest commercial real estate companies in the world. And who pops up on the company's website is my best friend's father, who is the CEO of the company. So once it came time for my interview process, I contacted him, and he became one of my mentors, one of my board of advisors. And that's how I got my job into commercial real estate. You never know who you're going to meet at any given period of times in any given places in the world and how that's going to affect your life. Me, having a roommate in Spain, not thinking about ever going to commercial real estate, landed me a job in commercial real estate. You just never know. And I can go on with stories beyond stories with little instances like that. What else?
In your speech you talk a lot about, I guess you put a formula to all the things that I've personally learned from you, and I see you implementing all the time. At what point did you sit down and make a moniker for RIP and adopt this as a life policy? Is this something, I don't assume that you just came up with that for the speech, right?
No, it's not.
At some point you put all these different experiences that you've had, advice that you've had together, and you kind of formed it into a real business plan for your own life.
Sure.
When did that come together?
So when I co-founded the Beacon Council's New Leaders Task Force, one of the pieces of what we do is fighting, talent retention issues. And the ways that we thought about fighting talent retention was dividing and conquering our efforts to corporate outreach, so meeting with young professionals in companies. And then there's an educational outreach component, going to high schools and universities and talking to college students and high school students about different opportunities to be successful in Miami, because there's so many misconceptions about Miami being a city that's a boys' society, that's a closed-door society, that people only in high society have opportunities. It's wrong. It's false. The door might be closed, but it's not locked, so you need to knock. And in getting that message out to these high school students, I had to, first of all, get creative so I can relate to them. And I also had to really find a way that I was really practicing what I was preaching, and I had to get that on a piece of paper. So for me, when I talk to people, I need what I'm talking about to be relatable. So that's why I was able to create words like RIP.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, Angie.
As an FIU alum who was very involved at FIU, I was in every part of student organizations, who then graduated and kind of was looking for something to do or looking for something to get involved. What is your advice to those recent graduates?
Identify what organizations align with your passions. and just do the research and reach out to the people that you think are going to be able to help you get in front of those organizations. People like you, an incredible resource at United Way that makes FIU proud. What else? Yeah.
In terms of, I know how much you care about Miami. What is it that keeps you up at night worrying about the future of this community, and what gives you real hope?
What keeps me up at night about this community is the gap between the haves and the have-nots, which is why I work so hard in the education space, because I think education is the only space that can level the playing field. But it takes us to get in front of these students. It's not just the teachers. Teachers have a hard enough job as it is, and they're not paid enough. So having us as a supplementation is huge. Being able to go into a community where people look like me and I can inspire them, for me, is huge. And going into communities where I can inspire young people to show them that anything is possible is essential. I think that in terms of bridging the gap, it has to be putting your money where your mouth is, or else it's just talk.
You talk a lot about setting goals and wanting to achieve them, but how do you start setting goals? Like, how do you get into the mindset where you want to do something? I'm not talking about picking a specific interest or using privilege to help others, but more so, how do you get into the mindset of wanting to jump, of getting to those goals?
Well, you have to decide what you want out of life, right? For me, my ultimate goal is to have my own family, right? And to give my family everything they need and more, right? So I can't do that just by sitting home and watching TV, right? I have to build my personal brand. I have to work hard. I have to give back to my community. I have to mentor others. And at the same time, I have to ask to be mentored, right? So you have to identify on a piece of paper. So when I got laid off from my job, I have a great mentor. He's in New York. And he's in private equity, one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And when I called him to let him know that I was let go from my job, I was distraught. And he said, Matt, it's going to be okay. And what I want you to do is I want you to take out a blank piece of paper. And I want you to list every single attribute that you want out of your dream job. That job might not even exist, but write it down. And if you can visualize it, then you can work towards it. And the same goes towards goals, right? There has to be metrics in success, right? You have to, baseball players measure their batting average, right? Same goes for your goals. If you want to run a 6-minute mile, you have to do tons and tons of repetition and drills to get down to that 6-minute mile. If you have your eyes set on being the best corporate attorney in Miami, you need to figure out who can be your mentor. You need to make sure you have the right GPA. You need to make sure you go to the right school, and you identify the right firms. So it's just a matter of identifying what you want and putting a battle plan on going after it. I'll get you next, Sam.
As a freshman at FIU, I'm still trying to find my passion, and assuming many people are. What did you do in order to find yours, and what was that moment when you realized that you had found it?
So, in terms of my passions, I've never really fit inside of a box, right? And there's a side of me that really loves the arts. There's a creative side to me, right? My dream job used to be an art dealer. And one summer, I was 21 years old. I had an internship fall through at Sotheby's. And my dad said, Matthew, come home. Don't worry. We'll find you something in Miami. I said, no. I'm going to New York. So I printed out 100 of my resumes, and I went from gallery to gallery, knocking on doors. And one day I landed 2 internships. And I had the most incredible summer of my life, being 21, and a lot of fun. And my dad sat me down at the end of the summer, and he said, you had a great time this summer. I said, yes. He said, you learned a lot. I said, oh yeah. And he said, do you want to have a family someday? I said, yes. He said, that is not the world for you, but there are still ways for you to tap into your passions for the love of the arts. And that's how I moved into my first job in banking. And in terms of my passion, people are my passion, right? It's not in my DNA to be chained to a desk. It just doesn't work. I'm not a processor. I need to be out talking to people, bringing in business. That's me. And I had to figure out an industry that would allow me to do so. And for a long time, that was commercial real estate. That was a tough business. I mean, I didn't collect a salary for 7 years. I worked 100% commission. So if I didn't sell, I didn't eat. But going to that industry allowed me to have a sense of autonomy, which allowed me to really build my name in the community and really give back in a meaningful way. So to answer your question in a long way, your passions don't have to fit inside of a box. Get that blank sheet of paper, write down what you love, and figure out how to do what you love. And in some sense, you might have to invent it. Look at Uber, look at Airbnb. I mean, those guys didn't fit in boxes either, and now they're billionaires. Mr. Sam?
I asked this question because I feel like you've mastered this art. But how do you network effectively without being transactional and still maintaining a genuine interaction or rapport with people?
Okay, so I'm going to answer that question in 2 parts. So I had a mentor that passed away recently. His name was Arthur Hertz. He was a real pillar of the Miami community. Mr. Hertz owned the Miami Seaquarium, and he was one of the biggest donors and givers of time and money to Miami. And once a year, I would have my time in Mr. Hertz's office. And Mr. Hertz had a really special office in Coral Gables. You go to his office right near Christie's. You go inside. It's nothing fancy, but it was really cool. And every time he would take me to his wall, and he would say, do you know who this is? Oh, it's Hillary Clinton. Do you know who this is? It's George Bush. You know who this is? It's Barbara Streisand. And it wasn't just him taking selfies. He had a real impact on these people's lives. And then we'd go into his conference room, and we would stare at each other, right? A lot of our interaction was nonverbal. And then he would say something, and whatever he said carried a ton of weight. And one day, I had just gotten into new business development in commercial real estate, and I said, Mr. Hertz, I'm going to be in a position where I'm going to have to ask my friends and family for business. And I'm not so sure I feel comfortable doing so. And he looked at me in the Mr. Hertz type of way that he always did, and he said, Matt, you work for an incredible company that provides an incredible value, and you can't be a wallflower. You're offering someone something that can help them. So, to expand on that, Sam, when you're out and about in the community, you're there for the organization, right? And you're there to meet people. And you're there to connect with people on a deep level. And that eventually and ultimately leads to business, because we do business with people that we like, admire, and trust. So if you have a product that can benefit a person that trusts you, present it to them. The worst thing that they can say is no, and maintain your friendship. But don't let that friendship be a transactional friendship. What else? Oh, we've got time for one more question. Shante?
So in your speech, you talked about the importance of mentorship and how many people help you along the
So that's not an easy thing to do, right? Time goes by so quickly. And you don't want to be in a position where you reach out to somebody just when you need somebody, right? It's so important to keep your contacts organized. You know, it's easy as remembering somebody's birthday, right? Happy birthday. It's been a long time since we've last connected. Can we have a coffee? Coffee, drinks, going out, experiencing a concert together. That's why it's so important, birds of a feather flock together, keeping people in your circle with the same interests, because those things keep you guys tied together, and you'll be friends forever.
There's one more student question right there. Go ahead.
Sure. I am a student at FIU and I'm in the food medicine field, but I've had my real estate license since I was a freshman here.
Sure.
Currently a candidate for brokers, and I want to know how you succeeded in the commercial real estate field with 100% commission in the beginning, and how did you maintain the connections? Did you use your mentors as connections, your clients, and how did you acquire listings and being so young and spread yourself in the real estate field?
Okay. So it's all the above. When I started in the commercial real estate business, I had a very, very tough mentor who taught me the business. She was a good coach. She gave me the ugly truth. She was tough on me when I needed it. And from the get-go, I'll never forget, it was November 16, 2010. She sent me to cold call buildings for tenants. And I'll never forget it. 1320 South Dixie Highway was the first building I ever cold called. And my job was to go floor by floor, knocking on every single tenant's door, looking for business. If that isn't a humbling experience, I don't know what is, because I was drenched in sweat from my nerves. And that day taught me a lot. And I got a client that day, but that was pure luck, believe me, because there was no skill in my cold calling then. But it's a lot of being resilient. It's a lot of having tough skin and being okay with hearing no, because it's a numbers game. And then eventually you get someone that's going to give you a chance. And when they give you a chance, you do a darn good job at servicing them, because your best referral source are your clients. So once you have that whole ecosystem of people that trust you, that's how your business is built. And not to mention, I really believe in transferable skills. So if real estate's good for you right now, it doesn't mean that real estate's going to be good for you forever. So take those business development skills that you're learning, finding clients, servicing clients, and you can take those and really do anything. And I guarantee you that prospective clients love people like you and I, because they know that we can function while being hungry, and we won't stop until we succeed. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I know there's a few of you who may not have been able to get your question answered, but I presume Matt will be around for a little bit, so feel free. I'm putting you out there for this offer if you want to have a chat with Matt after. So I would like to introduce one more person here today. It's my pleasure to introduce Mara Valeras, who is the community liaison officer to Dr. Lawrence Feldman, who is the chair of the Miami-Dade County Public School Board. So, Mara.
Hello, guys. Dr. Feldman regrets being unable to attend today's event, as he is presiding over today's school board meeting. Dr. Feldman is an advocate and a follower of the great work of Florida International University and the Center for Leadership. This renowned institution, as we are all hearing about, and its support, resources, and opportunities all engage in everything that this city needs. FIU and the Center for Leadership nurture a new generation of leaders, all of you it sounds like, activists who seek solutions to the long-standing issues that face our diverse community. Leaders like Matthew Anderson, who have long worked with public schools and community-based organizations to ensure opportunities for education and advancement are assessed by all children. Dr. Fellman, as you all don't know, is all about the children, and that is how these two have met. But Dr. Fellman has witnessed firsthand Matt's philanthropic endeavors, which have served to enhance the lives of the children he represents, and for that he is most grateful. We are so proud of Matt's accomplishments and initiatives and are so pleased to present him with this Medal of Distinction from School Board Dr. Larry Feldman. We love you.
Thank you all for being here today. What a wonderful way to spend part of your afternoon and lunch. Thank you all for being here. And we encourage you to stay with us for a few minutes. We are going to have a reception just on the other side of the plants. And we encourage you to connect with the center. If any of you want to come to future events, we have free lectures. We have a very select number of lectures during the year that are always on campus, and they're always free. We have newsletters. We have some other things going out. We will not spam you, but we want to be a resource to the FIU community and to the community as a whole. And it's really exciting to be engaged and be part of the conversations that are happening around leadership and making Miami a fantastic community and really helping solidify our motto, which is better leaders, better world. And so thank you again for being here today. And congratulations again to Matt.